Workers with AI skills are earning a 56% wage premium over people in the exact same role that don't have them. Now, that's not my number, that's PwC analyzing close to 1 billion job applications. 56% more for the exact same job. Now, compare two ways of proving that you have these skills. One, a university degree, which takes 4 years and easily costs 6 figures in total, or a certification, somewhere between free and maybe $250 and a few weeks of study. But here's the problem. Most AI certifications are complete garbage. Nobody's checking them, nobody's impressed by them, and some of them are honestly just straight up scams. So I went through the whole landscape and I pulled out the 6 that actually mean something in 2026. Now I've ordered them roughly from beginner to advanced, and at the end I'm going to tell you exactly which one that you should pick based on your exact situation. So let's dive in. So before I get to the list, I just want to spend 30 seconds discussing what a certification actually does for you, because people get this wrong in every direction. Now, a certification will not get you a job by itself. Anyone who tells you otherwise is just trying to sell you the certification. What a certification does do, though, is it gets you past filters. So recruiters and applicant tracking systems are going to scan for signals, and a recognized certification is a signal that survives that 6-second resume scan. Now, these certifications are also typically going to force structure onto your learning, which is more important than people admit, and is going to force you to learn more. Okay, so overall here, the winning combination, and you're going to hear me repeat this again, is to have one good certification plus at least one very good project that you can actually demo. And my criteria for this list for the certifications is the following: real industry recognition, reasonable cost and time, actually current, right, meaning generative AI and LLMs rather than just classic machine learning, and then bonus points if it actually tests you hands-on instead of just using multiple choice. If it's practical and it's giving you something that you can actually demonstrate and talk about in the interview, that's going to be a bonus, because the cert is also a talking point that you can discuss when you actually get to those routes. Okay, so let's get into the certifications. I have 6 different ones. Let's go through them. Okay, so we're going to start here at the entry point, and that's with DataCamp's AI Fundamentals certification. Now, this one certifies exactly what it sounds like, that you actually understand what AI is. Now, it's a 30-question timed exam. It takes up to an hour to complete, and here's the detail that I like about it. It doesn't expire because the fundamentals don't really change, right? Now, the exam covers how AI works at a foundational level, machine learning and LLM concepts, generative AI, and the ethics, so the core vocabulary that you need to be genuinely AI literate at work. Now, full disclosure, DataCamp has been a long-term partner of this channel, and I did partner with them for this video. That said, I've personally completed some of these certifications myself, and I use the platform all the time to keep sharp with my Python skills. So I know many of you have used it, and I feel very comfortable recommending it, so that's why I partnered with them for this video. I would talk about this certification regardless, and again, I've done it myself. Okay, now who is this for? Well, honestly, this is aimed at pretty much anyone who isn't already super technical. So if you're a marketer, an analyst, a manager, or a student, and every job posting that you see now says AI literacy preferred, this is kind of that checkbox that you can actually get by, that's backed by a real exam instead of just a LinkedIn course that you can really easily cheat on. Now, the honest downside with this certification is that this alone is not going to get you an engineering job. It's also not trying to do that. It's really the floor, not the ceiling, but as a first credential that just takes a few days rather than months, it's a very easy win, and it's included with a DataCamp subscription rather than being an extra exam fee. Anyways, I'm going to have another DataCamp certification later on that's going to be a lot more meaningful, but for now, this is a great one to check off, and it's going to give you a lot of value relative to the cost and also the amount of time it takes to complete. Okay, now let's move on to certification number 2. Now, this is the AWS Certified AI Practitioner. Now, it's $100, it's a 90-minute exam, and it's probably the best brand-to-effort ratio that's on this whole list. So AWS is still the largest cloud on the planet, which means this badge is recognized by basically every single company that has some cloud bill. Now, the exam covers AI and ML fundamentals, plus the generative AI layer. So foundation models, AWS services like Bedrock, Amazon Q, SageMaker, right? You get the idea. And the prep is genuinely doable. Most people report 30 to 40 hours of studying, and it's valid for up to 3 years. Now, who is this for? Well, it's pretty much anyone that's working at or applying to a company that runs on AWS, which is a lot of people because pretty much everyone uses AWS. Now, it's also a great first kind of real certification after getting the fundamental one, because it's from a vendor whose name needs zero explanation and everyone's going to recognize right away. Now, the honest downside here is that it is multiple choice, so it's really just proving knowledge and not ability, and it's AWS flavored, so some of what you're learning here is really dependent on their ecosystem and not really a transferable skill. Okay, now let's move on to certification number 3, which is the NVIDIA NCA Gen L and the Generative AI and LLMs Associate Certification. That is a mouthful, but I'll put it up on screen so you can see exactly what it's called. Now, this is $125. It's a 1-hour exam, and it's been called the fastest growing AI certification going into 2026. Now, there's 2 reasons that I picked this certification. First, it's from NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA is the name when it comes to AI, so it actually carries a lot of weight on a resume. The second is that the content is actually surprisingly transferable. Roughly 70% of what you're doing is platform agnostic, so LLM fundamentals, transformers, prompting, retrieval, fine-tuning, you get the idea, right? It's not just pure NVIDIA product knowledge. Now, who is this for? Well, it's really developers and kind of data science-y type people who want to signal that they're specializing in the LLM and generative AI direction rather than just general cloud AI. Now, this is valid for 2 years, but here's the honest downside. It's newer, so it doesn't have kind of that decade of HR recognition that something like AWS or Microsoft might have. And again, it's a written exam, not a practical one. Okay, so now we move on to certification number 4. Now, this is genuinely the one that I would recommend to most developers watching, especially as their first kind of real AI certification. Now, this is DataCamp's AI Engineer for Developers Associate Certification. Now, every other cert on this list is testing you with multiple choice questions, but this one actually makes you build something. So there's a 2-hour timed exam that's covering AI models, prompt engineering, and application development. There's then a 4-hour practical exam where you complete 3 real-world tasks in Python by actually writing code, actually getting graded. Now, for an employer, that's a fundamentally stronger signal because it certifies that you can do the job and not just talk about it. And the preparation is built into the platform. So the Associate AI Engineer for Developers track is 29 hours of hands-on learning where you build chatbots, semantic search, and recommendation systems using things like the OpenAI API, LangChain, Hugging Face, and Pinecone. Plus, it has the LLM ops side where you have rate limiting, error handling, structured outputs, and the production stuff that most people are skipping. So you're writing real code in the browser the entire time. And that matters a lot because studies have shown that you only retain about 20% of what you watch and do passively, but when you're actively writing code, retention can jump to 75 to 90%. Now, both DataCamp certifications that I've mentioned in this video, so the AI Fundamentals if you're starting out, and then this one, the AI Engineers for Developers Associate, are included with the subscription with no separate exam fee. So right now you can actually get 25% off using my link in the description. And if you want either of those certifications, you might as well, and you can do them both without paying anything else. Okay, so let's move on now to certification number 5. Now, this is Microsoft's Azure AI Engineer Associate. Now, quick heads up here if you are going to research this one. The classic AI 102 exam that they had actually retired in June of 2026. It's now been replaced by AI 103. So this is the Azure AI Apps and AI Developer Certification. So make sure that you are studying for the current one if you go with this track. Now, this is really the enterprise play. It's about $165, and it covers building real solutions with Azure AI Foundry and Azure OpenAI. So generative AI, agents, natural language, vision, the whole Azure AI surface. Now, Microsoft expects you to actually work with Python or C# here and to use things like REST APIs. So it's more technical than the practitioner level certs that we talked about above. Now, who is this one for? Well, it's really if you want to work in enterprise, consulting, or basically any big company that lives in that Microsoft ecosystem. Now, this is arguably the highest value badge that you can hold because these companies specifically hire against this certification. Now, the honest downside here is that this is very deep in the Azure world. So if you're targeting companies that aren't Microsoft shops, a lot of the specifics just aren't going to transfer or apply. Now, the study time is measured in months, not weeks, so it's definitely something that's going to take a lot more preparation, and you want to be more serious before you dive into. So let's move on to the final certification. I'll classify this as the heavyweight of the list, and this is Google Cloud's Professional Machine Learning Engineer Certification. It's $200, it's a 2-hour exam, and this is the one with the biggest reported salary impact on this list. Holders that have this command roughly a 25% premium over uncertified peers in some analysis. It's hard to say exactly which, but anyways, that's what's reported. Now, this is a professional level certification, and it definitely earns that title. It expects real ML experience, so things like designing and training pipelines, deploying and monitoring models, ML ops, and increasingly the generative AI side of things like Vertex AI. Now, people fail this exam, and that's partly why it means something and is not easy to pass. Now, who's this for? It's engineers who are already working with ML or data and want a senior defensible credential. Now, this is not a starter certification, and if you're very early on, taking this too soon is just going to be expensive and waste a lot of time. So the downside here of this certification is it's difficult, okay? It is also focused really purely on Google Cloud. And like most of the other big vendor certifications here, it does expire after 2 years, so you're recertifying all of the time. Okay, anyways, good certification overall if you're a professional, but if you're just starting out, you probably want to skip this one. So at this point, we've gone through 6 different certifications. And what I want to do now is give you a cheat sheet to decide which one, if any, that you should take. So if you are a total beginner or you're in a non-technical role, then you want to look at the DataCamp AI Fundamentals. It is the fastest win, has no expiry, and it gets you AI literate extremely quickly. Next, if your company or target companies run on AWS, then you want to look at the AWS AI Practitioner and build up from there. Now, if you're aiming at big enterprise or Microsoft shops, you're going to look at the Azure AI Engineer path, specifically AI 103. Now, for developers who want to prove build skills very quickly, DataCamp's AI Engineer for Developers Associate track is the one to look at. This is the practical exam. It's a big differentiator. And again, all of the prep and everything is built into the platform. Now, if you want to go deep on the LLM specialist role, have a look at NVIDIA certification. This is a really great signal. And again, it's one you can stack projects on top of and is really going to make you stand out. Now, if you're already experienced in machine learning and you want kind of the senior, most prestigious badge, go with the Google one. Now, regardless of which one of these you pick, what I would say is just start from one certification and then add one deployed project on top. Again, the certification is going to open the door, hopefully get you past some of the screening, and the project is going to walk you through it because you'll have something that actually demonstrates those skills. What you want to avoid is just becoming someone who collects a bunch of certifications but doesn't actually build anything. Okay, so those are the 6 AI certifications that I believe are actually worth your time in 2026. The links to everything are going to be in the description. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer and which one you're going to go after. And if I missed one, definitely leave it there because I know there is a ton. These are just the ones that I found that I thought were valuable. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.